Okay guys, well, before you even begin to play any note that's written in the notation that's in the music, first thing you want to do is play your concert B flat key signature from your lowest note available to your highest note available. See, I don't mean the scale, right? In other words, you learned how to play the scale. But I mean, start on your lowest note available. And play up that way. So, and the brass players, by the way, it'd be better if you started on the top and came down. Send me an email if you figured out why. The fingerings that you need to add to that key signature are your concert G flat, your concert A flat, and your concert D flat. So once you add those fingerings, which you learn by either talking to a friend, asking a teacher, or consulting your fingering chart, you then have the complete vocabulary necessary to go into the piece and nail it. By the way, that in a tango is called the syncopat. Da-da, 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 da-da. I'm changing it harmonically to add some tension. All right, let's go back to the beginning now and take a look only at our percussion. See that it's a groove that keeps repeating. So what's important is not the notes and how they've been chosen to be written, but understanding the feeling that you get from the notation and then just playing a groove. The tambourine playing accents. See how in the notation it just looks like straight eighth notes, but when you add your own accents to it and groove with the conga player and the guiro player, then it becomes this tango feel. And the sense that I want you to get here is that you're not limited to what you see on the page. You use the notation to guide you into the right direction, but then you understand that it's a groove and you play that groove. Let's look at these woodwind parts for a second. In this version of the notation, to make it sound a little bit closer to the right kind of shortness on the sound, it's written as these eighth notes with eighth note silences. And actually, this is actually a good way to write it, because if you think of the silence as a and the sound as a ta, this very easily looks like ta-m, 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 ta-ta-m, ta-m, bum 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 bum. You get the idea? But to make it clearer, what's going to happen is this. I'm going to grab these notes and change their duration so that they all look like quarter notes. You see? So there's less hitting the eye. But what's going to happen when you play your music, you should think of these staccato notes as the same as an eighth note followed by an eighth note silence. So that you're still going to feel this as da-m, 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 da-m. And then with the accents, you're going to get bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Notice how that silence is actually very important here, right there. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Oh, see, now you can see why I shortened it up for the file. staccato, big crescendo, and then right back to a delicate tango. So the first trumpets can be playing this together, or one person can be playing it like a solo. So in your part, you're going to see the full notation, PP going to FFZ. Okay, so let's look at this notation for a second, because this is also something that looks more difficult than it is. This is a file playing a sequence, and your notation, which actually looks closer to real music, is different. In other words, I'm going to beam those 3 eighth notes together, and then these 2 eighth notes are going to be together. But let's use the idea of the on the silence and ta on the note. Well, in slow motion, this would be ta 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 ta. It's really not that hard, is it? Da 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 dun dun dun. Ta 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 ta. I'm not even thinking of a 5/8. I'm not thinking of a 3/4. I'm just playing beats. Ta 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 ta. And if you look at the way that the notes are changing, in this instance, the flutes, the oboes, they're only moving by either a step, a full step, or a half step. Well, that's everybody. Everybody's either moving by a full step or a half step. So really, the fingerings here are not difficult, and the rhythm is not difficult. So avoid counting it. Don't think, oh, I got to play on the up of this, I have to play on the downbeat of that, and how does that fit into 5/8, and so on and so forth. And simply play ta-m, ta-ta-m, ta-m, ta-ta-m, ta-m, ta-ta-m. Guys, let me show you very quickly that 5/8 section is much simpler than it looks as notation. Let's look at dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun. Look how slow you're actually moving to play that. Dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun. And notice how it's that one finger that I'm changing, because it's only moving by a full step or a half step. So in most cases, you're just playing one button difference. Dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun. See how slow it actually is? And if you do the thinking, ta-m, ta-ta-m, ta-m, ta-ta-m, ta-m, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Let's start on these little explosive sections. See what goes on? Dee-yum, dee-yum. So you push to that second note suddenly. It's not like a crescendo. It's a different kind of an effect. And the way that I wrote it in your notation is PP with a straight line going to an FFZ with an accented note above that eighth note, an accented mark above that eighth note. Like this. Okay guys, well if you're playing horn, how do you count through that 5/8 section? It's easy for the wind players, right? They're playing da-dum, 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 da-dum. But what if you're just playing that long sustained note? Well, watch the conductor. The conductor's going to play the 5/8 measures just by going like this. Yup, da 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 dee dee dee. Yup, da 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 dee dee dee. Well, how do you know where you are? Well, that's easy. These are measures. Button, 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 dee dee dee. Yup, button, 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 dee dee dee. You play da ba. Simple, no counting. Now keep this nice and separate. See, in the MIDI, it sounds too connected. It should be. See, this is not really difficult. It's going to sound cool, but it's not that difficult. Symphony is only playing between two drums. Right, left, left, right, left, left. Low brass, bum bee bum ba. What do you think is the strongest note in that simple idea? Well, it's actually the shortest note. Now you definitely want to lay out that first one because that's the fundamental, but this eighth note is what gives it the power. And how do you set up the eighth note? Well, by subdividing that dotted quarter. So in slow motion, I would think this. 1, bum, 1, 2, 3, bum, ba. Right. Now you see that one of the options is that all the woodwind players, let's do it right now, play not the concert F, but a concert G flat. So one of the options will be that the woodwinds play this, or the first part players, I think is how we have it in the score. All of the first part players will play a concert G flat against everyone else staying on that concert F. And we'll get this kind of a sound. Right, and so that keeps our tension going, and then it goes right back as if nothing happened to our little tango. So that's one of the options. Of course, those should be nice and short and not the way the MIDI plays it. Boom, boom. Thanks very much for watching. And if you have any questions, send me an email, stormlab@stormworld.com. Thanks a lot. Enjoy.